It is Death Metal Debuts Part 3.
These are amazing death metal records. You're gonna want to check them out.
Kicking it off with Atheist, Piece of Time in 1990. The production is still fantastic to this day on this record. The riffs are vicious and wild. Just check out Piece of Time. The bass is also one of the best components about this band in my opinion. It's just so f***ing cool. I love the thrashy influences too, like in Unholy War.
I am right on board with you with this. This is a trailblazing album in terms of technical death metal. It is a bit wonky though, in terms of its kind of how it navigates this. This is still very new territory. This is definitely a highlight in the tech death progressive thrash. It's just so many genres. I really enjoyed this album a lot.
And you're right, it is wonky. Like listen to Deny. An amazing album. Despite its flaws, it's still such a classic record. I put it in A tier.
Yeah, I have it at like the bottom of A.
It's not better than Exhumed. Now we're getting into Brutality with Screams of Anguish. Awesome Floridian death metal band with some seriously killer riffing. I love the sludgy moments with those death metal vocals. The production on this album still sounds awesome too. The drums are beefy as hell, guitars are gnarly, the vocals are brutal as fuck. Listen to Ceremonial Unearthing.
The production on this is like timeless. Like I couldn't believe that this was 1993. It's funny that you say that about the vocals. I thought the vocals got a little tiresome. They were kind of one-dimensional for me.
One cool thing about this album was the weird pacing moments, like the instrumentals.
Yeah.
Like listen to this track.
Overall, I really enjoyed this record. I have it at like the bottom of A.
I don't know, looking at our A-, I don't think it's as good as those.
So probably the top of B then.
We're splitting hairs.
We are definitely splitting hairs because all of those albums go so hard.
Benediction, Subconscious Terror. Awesome old school dirty sound on this album. Listen to the trashy ass snare on this recording. The riffing is fairly simple, along the lines of like old school Obituary. It's a little bit less memorable in my opinion. The vocals seem to have some trouble spots all over the place on this record. Some really cool grooves overall, but you can hear the influences of what like later death metal bands would do.
I definitely have an issue with like the cohesion and the pacing on this album. It can't get its feet underneath it throughout the production. The drums in particular are kind of meh. But overall, I don't think I would reach for this one very much.
It's one of the weaker ones out of the list that we've reviewed. It's a solid C tier.
Yeah, but at like a hard C.
Yeah, around Asphyx and Sinister. Carnage, Dark Recollections. We've said it a billion times on this channel. The Swedes know how to do death metal, man, especially in the 90s. That chainsaw sound is just something that I just always love it. It's so good. And it's pretty goddamn savage on this record. In the name of the holy cry, I am the killer. My favorite tune on here, though, is easily Torn Apart. It's probably one of their best songs in their whole catalog. Those sludgy, doomy riffs with the death metal drums, man.
Dude, this is like the Dismember Carcass supergroup that only came out with one album. That's the only bad thing about this, is that there's only one record. 1990 for Michael Amott and Fred Etzby and Dave Bloomquist to all be coming together and writing an album. This was like lightning in a bottle, dude. I really, really enjoy this. This is right up there with Dismember and Entombed and all those other A records.
I have it at A- as well. Let's throw it up there. Oh, right next to Dismember.
Weird.
Weird. Cancer to the Gory End, one of the UK's best death metal bands from the 90s and honestly just period. This album is incredibly important to the death metal scene. I love how the album starts with the track Bloodbath and how the vocals come in. This album has such a cool sound with that raw feel that's just stripped down and in your face and viscerally intense. Into the Acid is another great example of just that thrashy death greatness that this band captures so well.
This is what I like to call a riff metropolis. Some of my favorite riffs of any of these albums are on this record right here. To me, it's a little front-loaded with their best songs being on the first half of the record, but I don't think that that's so much a sign of the band as it is like a sign of the times, because this is early 90s, 1990 in particular. Your first half, your A-side, was your better tracks. That's just how they did it. But there isn't a bad song on here, dude. I have it hard A,
yeah,
basically.
It belongs in the A tier. Amazing album. Honestly, the top of A.
Yeah, dude. Like, some of those riffs are just so, like, classic.
Yeah, I mean, this is essential listening for death metal.
Yeah.
Cynic, Focus. It's hard to explain how unbelievably important this metal album was on my formative years as a musician. I am still never going to be this good as anyone in this band. It was highly influential on me. This album taught me how fucking cool it is in death metal when you just go completely off script and when your bassist is a goddamn freak on the fretboard. The whole album influenced so many metal bands, from death metal to progressive metal to all of everything in between. Textures itself is basically all of Animals as Leaders' sound.
This record moved the bar. There were so many bands that were trying to chase after that symbolic Sound of Perseverance sound that Death had created, and Cynic just very quietly was just kind of like, yeah, we're just gonna do that. Killed it, dude.
Yeah.
Sean Reinhardt, Pete Masvidal, everybody in this record is just so cutting edge and like highly talented. This is an S tier record. Listen to this if you've never heard it.
Yeah, it's one of those albums that if it came out today, it would change the game.
Yeah.
And it changed the game when it came out in the 90s. It's that good. It's
Yeah.
perfection, man.
Yeah.
It belongs.
I would put it above Cryptopsy for
and
me.
above Entombed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the top of S. Drawn and Quartered to Kill is Human. Rad as hell death metal album that dropped in 1999 with some serious, respectable power behind it. I had never heard this record. You guys dropped it in the comments and we checked it out. You can hear the Chris Barnes vocal influence for sure all over this album, like in Ministry of Torture. The drummer is pretty goddamn crazy in this band. Nothing's processed to either, so keep that in mind. It's just a dude going nuts behind his kit. Solid album, short and sweet, but nothing groundbreaking.
The toms on this, the drum kit itself, brutal. The artwork is brutal. I don't even know if like we can show it. It's relentless in kind of a take it or leave it kind of sense. I like when death metal is relentless, but it gives you a minute to breathe sometimes. This is just like flat out 0 to 60, doesn't stop until it's over. And where are the guitars in the mix? Like, I think they're a little too low for me as like a guitar fan. Bottom of B, still a really cool record.
Yeah, I would say bottom. It's around Edge of Sanity. This album is not talked about enough, and Hate Eternal, I feel like, doesn't get enough recognition.
They don't.
At all.
No.
This band is one of the best death metal bands, highly underrated. With Hate Eternal, Conquering the Throne, this changed a lot of the game for me. I remember picking this album up and just being completely blown away by how next level it was, right from the first track. This was everything that I loved about bands like Morbid Angel, but just turned up like a few more notches. Dethroned on this album is probably my favorite song on the entire album. This is a blueprint for death metal, dude, especially in this kind of extreme vein. The band still kills.
You've got incredible musicians between Eric Rutan and Tim Young. This was Tim Young's debut on the drums, and he just came out and changed the game, dude. This was 1999. You had extreme drummers, but as you can see on some of these other death metal albums, they're playing a little sloppy. They're still on the cutting edge, but they're still trying to figure out like what the hell they're doing. The frickin' riffs are just insane, dude. This is relentless on the other side of the spectrum. This is relentless in a good way. Like, yeah. I love getting pummeled by this record. Easily an A tier record.
Yeah, and the band's still great. Probably belongs around Suffocation, maybe above Suffocation. It's a hair below that for me.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Now we're getting into Hypocrisy with Penetralia.
Don't be hypocritic about it.
Call me Hippocrates.
What an idiot.
I've always had an immense amount of respect for Hypocrisy. Peter Tägtgren is easily one of the best vocalists in death metal, period. I will die on that hill. The creative and cool riffing contrasted with the guttural vocals on this album is just the sound for this band in general, and it works really well. The album itself, in my opinion, is a little bit long. Love the title track with those pitch-shifted, weird-ass growls. Cool as hell album, but their later discography is better.
This was also definitely very long, whereas most of these records, their sweet spots between 30, 40 minutes tops. This one cut in around 51-ish, and it just feels way too long. Sick guitars. Obviously, Peter Tägtgren is a great producer, is a great guitarist, great vocalist. However, in like the sea of other albums that came out in this time frame, this is 92, it just doesn't quite stand out for me. Top of C, maybe the middle of C.
I put it at B, but I would go down to like B minus, C plus.
Okay.
I would definitely reach for this above Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah, put it at the bottom of B.
Another Floridian death metal pioneer that does not get enough attention, unfortunately. I love the album artwork, and I do love the production on this record. The synths with those burly ass guitars add such a rad atmosphere to From Beyond. The thrashy riffing sounds so fucking good too, with those mid-tempo double bass grooves all over the record, like on Cryptic Realms. The album's definitely bloated though, unfortunately. Clocking in at nearly an hour, it was tough to get through at some points, but it's seriously got some classic death metal essential songs on here for everyone to check out.
For 1991, yeah, this is great. Unfortunately, it is another sign of the times. So many dive bomb guitars. Like, I don't need to hear your guitar go, woo! Like every 3 seconds.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's like, dude, we get it. The beginning of Hell Awaits was really important to you. A solid album with some amazing riffs. Definitely a B tier record.
Yeah, I would say middle of B, around aborted.
Yeah, it definitely gets a bit long.
Maybe above or below?
Below it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Morgoth, Cursed. We don't agree on this album.
We're gonna have a fight.
Yeah, we're probably not friends anymore. Seriously underrated death metal band from Germany. If you haven't heard Morgoth, definitely go give their early catalog a spin. Awesome old school death metal riffing and groove, and the production on this album is just vicious and dark. You can hear the serious, just death Chuck Schuldiner vocal influence in this band, which is rad as hell. The band is also not afraid to mess with doom riffs, and that's why I fell in love with this band and pretty much their whole early 90s death metal discography. One of the bands that started me down the path of death doom, and I haven't looked back, boys.
That was the thing that stuck with me about this record, is they were not afraid to go slow. There's definitely some really strong riffs on here. I thought it was a little long. Like I said, I think 30 to 40 minutes is the sweet spot for these, 90s death metal bands. And I didn't really care for the vocals. I thought they were a little too copy paste, from John Tardy, Chuck Schuldiner. I understand that you have a nostalgia for this record, and I don't want to take away from that. However, I didn't really care for it as much as you did.
Then we're gonna have to put it in the middle. More goth is now gonna get less goth.
Around a Morphous?
Yeah, that's
ish.
All right, that's good for me.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. More goth, you can be happy there. Monstrosity with Imperial Doom. Another gem, man, from the Floridian death metal scene that I feel like just nobody talks about nearly enough. This is an unquestionable classic album of the death metal genre. Badass grooves, killer death metal riffing, in-your-face bass runs all over the place. I love the fast double bass too, and the mid-tempo head-nodding riffs like in Immense Malignancy. Badass to see Corpse Grinder too, early days Corpse Grinder, and he still sounds good, if not better than this today.
Definitely not my favorite album from Monstrosity, but the riffs are here. If you've never heard of this band, it's definitely a great place to start. I have it at B+. I don't really have anything bad to say about it.
B+, A- is fine with me. How about Above Dying Fetus?
Okay.
Is that fine?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. Nile amongst the catacombs of Nephron-Ka. I have a ton of respect for Nile, but this album is not for me, dude. Everyone in this band is immensely talented. Carl Sanders is disgusting at guitar. I just have a hard time, unfortunately, grabbing onto anything musical in the tracks in this era of the band. And it's a shame for me too, because everything sounds really great. The performances are nuts. I do love Ramsey's Bringer of War though, with the battle horns and the chugs. pretty iconic moment on the record. Killer band, just not really for me. I would put it around C tier.
I think that's totally fair. I love this band, and on paper, I was gonna be obsessed, right? But then I heard this record in Black Seeds of Vengeance, and I was like, it's a little weird, it's kind of wonky. I don't think it was until Annihilation of the Wicked, when they got George Callias behind the kit, that they actually clicked. There are definitely some good songs on here. I can't believe this came out in 1998 because the production sounds it's like 93. This is not the Nile album that I'm gonna reach for. If anything, I'll pull a few songs for playlists, maybe the top of C.
Yeah, it's just such a fast album. It's hard to grab onto anything.
Exactly, dude. When they started introducing like mid-pace riffs, even some like slow stuff.
Probably below Asphyx. Okay. Broken Hope.
Yeah.
Vader, Ultimate Incantation, one of Poland's best metal bands, period. One of the most important death metal bands from the 90s. Awesome tremolo riffing, fast double bass with just tons of meatiness behind it. I love Dark Age, especially from this album. Unfortunately, though, this is not the album from Vader that I reach for, like, pretty much at all. It's a bit long. There's not a lot of attention-grabbing songs on here, but you can feel the band getting their feet under them. But compared to Litany, this just doesn't do it for me.
It's fine. I wouldn't reach for this very much, yeah.
But very important band, and they will go off to do very important
Incredible
things.
things,
Yes.
yeah.
Put bottom of the C. I would reach for Broken Hope above this. That's part 3, folks, of death metal debuts. If there's any more that we've missed, drop some more in the comments. We want to check them out. We want to keep ranking them because this is a fun as hell series. Check out some of our other videos right here while you're at it, and make sure you thumbs up.
Go with the gods, Forge Mates. Ramses, the bringer of war, awaits.